Next, let's take a look at some of the built-in dialogues that you can utilize in Microsoft Access. They're actually part of the VBA language. I'm going to return to Microsoft Access. I'm going to close the splash screen, saying no, I don't want to save it. And I'm just going to create a brand new form, just in Design View. It's not even bound. Making sure my control wizards are turned off, I'm going to add a command button to my form, just placing it on the form somewhere. And I'm going to name this, so I'm going to bring up its properties, and I'm going to name this CMD message box. I named it CMD message box. Now I'm going to go to the Event tab, go to the Click Event, go to Event Procedure, and click Build. Message box is a very nice built-in function in the VBA language. At its most simple level, you simply type message box, and then you display the prompt you want the user to see. This is my message. If I go ahead and run this, so I'm going to return to my form using the taskbar and run this, getting rid of the properties window, and you can see that I get a message. This is my message. Notice there's no icon, there's only an OK button, and the title says Microsoft Access. Going back to the VBE, and I don't even need to close the form, I can simply go back to the VBE to my code. What I'm going to do next is type a comma. Notice that IntelliSense shows me the constants that are appropriate for the second parameter. I could, for example, select critical, which gives me an icon. Then I can use a plus sign, and I can determine what buttons that I want to have appear, such as I can have yes, no, and cancel appear. So let's go back over to the Access environment, click the command button, and notice that now you get the X, this is my message, and yes, no, and cancel. Now nothing happens if I click no. Okay, I can click any of the buttons and nothing special happens. But you can see that the buttons do indeed appear. Going back over to the VBE, I'm going to break this line of code up so we can see better using an underscore. I'm going to type a comma, go down to the next line, and the third parameter is the title. This is my title. Going back over to Access, notice that if I click, it now says this is my title. We're still not responding to whether the user clicks yes, no, or cancel. But how do we do that? Well, in order to respond, we actually need to make sure that this function returns a value. What I'm going to do right now is type if message box, this is my message. I'm going to try to do something here, which is say equals VB yes. Then, and notice that I get an error. What we need to do is if we're going to get a return value from message box, we need to enclose these parameters within parentheses. So it needs to look like this. If message box with all these parameters returns a yes, then we'll display another message box saying you responded yes. Okay, so let's test this. If I click yes, it says you responded yes. On the other hand, if I click no, nothing happens. And if I click cancel, nothing happens. Coming back over to our code, I could do something like this. I can say, instead of if, select case the answer to message box. Then what I'm going to do is get rid of the equals and change this to case VBS. You responded yes. Case VB no. You responded no. And case VB cancel. You didn't answer. going to need to change this to an end select. So let's test this out now. Yes. No. Cancel. So you can see that message box not only receives parameters indicating what icon to display and what buttons to display, it also returns a value indicating which button the user pressed. And each one of these constants has a unique value associated with it. There's other constants for if, for example, you were to display abort, retry, and ignore. Another built-in dialog is input box. It actually receives text input from the user. To click after the end select, and I'm going to put in input box, please give me an answer. Now I'm going to move off that line, and you can see it accepted it. Let's go ahead and test this. This is my message, yes. And now, notice it says, please give me an answer. I'm just going to put in hello, click OK, and once again, nothing happens. Again, I'm not using that return value. Back over to our code, I'm going to declare a string variable. I declared a string variable, and now down below, I'm going to set that string variable equal to whatever the user enters into that text box. So I'm using the input box function. Notice the second parameter to the input box function is a title, and the third parameter is the default value. Break this line up so it's more readable. I missed my end parenthesis. And what we want to do when we're done is display in a message box. We want to concatenate that with whatever's in str answer. So let's see how this works out. Notice the default, hi there, how are you? I'm going to add to this. Click OK. It says you answered hi there, please tell me, how are you? So you can see that the input box, once again, allows the user to enter information. You can't really customize this. For example, you can't designate that this is a multiple line input box, or you can't add extra text boxes or anything like that. You get your OK and cancel button, and this is how it is. But if you need something that looks like this, this is a very nice built-in dialog. In the last part of this subsection, we're going to talk about menu bars, toolbars, and shortcut menus. I'm going to go to Design View of this form, and I'm going to right-click any command bar, which means any toolbar or menu bar, and then I'm going to select Customize. The Customize dialog appears. It's a tabbed dialog which shows you toolbars that you have, the commands, and the options. What we're going to be doing is creating a new command bar. And command bars include menu bars, toolbars, as well as context-sensitive menus or shortcut menus. So here's all the toolbars and menu bars that we already have. What I'm going to do is click New. When I click New, I need to supply a name for the new toolbar that I'm creating. I'm going to call it Migrate, and actually this is going to be a menu. So Migrate Menu. I'm going to click OK, and notice we get Migrate Menu. And it actually appears over here. But when I create a new toolbar, it's exactly that. By default, it's a toolbar rather than a menu bar. So it looks and acts and behaves like a toolbar. I'm going to click Properties. And what I'm going to do is go to its properties and designate it that its type, instead of toolbar, is a menu bar. I click Close, and here it is, but now I need to place commands on it. To place commands on it, I utilize the Commands tab. So what I might want to do is go down to New Menu, and I want to add a new menu. And in fact, I'm going to add 3 new menus. The first menu I want to be my File menu. So I right-click, and I'm going to enter &File as the name. I'm going to go over to the next menu pad, and this is going to be &Data Entry. And the third one is going to be &Reports. So notice that I've created my 3 main menu pads. Now what I need to do is add entries to each menu. I can add entries that are custom, or I can add them from various categories. For example, if I look under the File category, under my File menu, I might want to have a page setup option. I also might want to have Print Preview, and I might want to have Print, and I also may want to have Exit. And all of these contain the functionality automatically behind them. Under the Data Entry menu, on the other hand, I may want to go over to my list of all the forms in my database, and I may want to add the Expense Codes form, the Payments form, and, for example, the Projects form. Now notice that all of these have the same picture, and they also have the same text. I can right-click any of them, change the text, and I can also change the picture. I can change the picture to any preset button image, so I could pick, for example, the heart, or I could instead paste in a button image from any, notice paste button image is disabled because nothing's on my clipboard, but from any image that I select, even in something like Paintbrush. I can also opt to have a default style which has the picture and text, text only when it's in a menu, or I can have image and text, which is going to be, in this case, the same as the default style. So I can change these properties for any of the menu items. I'm going to go over to All Reports, and I'm going to add some reports to my menu as well. So I continue customizing, adding commands to the various menus, and when I'm done, I click Close. I now have a menu which I can place up here, but for right now I want that menu to be hidden. I don't need the 2 menus. So I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to hide it by going to Customize, Toolbars, and remember this was Migrate Menu. I'm going to deselect it so it goes away for now. What I want to have happen is every time this form becomes active, I want that menu to automatically appear. So I go to the Design of the form, go to the Properties of the form, and go to the Other tab. Under the Other tab, I'm going to select, for the menu bar property, I'm going to select the custom menu, Migrate Menu. So watch what happens. Whenever this form is active, that menu appears. And I can select, for example, data entry expense codes, and you can see it works fine, but notice that the menu changes back. If I go back to my form, you can see that the custom menu once appears. And I can go to any other form. This particular form can't be opened on its own. I'm going to cancel. Let's try the payments form, which is the same problem. But you can see that if I can go to any valid form, it's okay. If I go to reports, you can see the report runs, and once again, the menu changes back to the default until that form gets the focus again, and then its own menu appears. So that's how we make a menu bar. And what I'm going to do is go back to Design View, and I'm going to right-click, select Customize, and I'm going to create another new toolbar. This one's going to be my toolbar. Basically works the same way, except that there's no need to go into Properties, because in Properties it's already set up. So what I do instead is just go directly to Commands, and I can do things like add a print preview button, print button, page setup. Under Edit, I might want to add cut, copy, paste, and so forth. I have my toolbar. When I'm done, I want to hide this toolbar. I don't need it right now, so I'm going to deselect it, close, and once again with my form selected, I can associate a toolbar with a form. A toolbar, when that form becomes active, becomes the toolbar that appears, and I can dock it just like any other toolbar. And you can see that whenever that form is active, you can see that that toolbar appears. If I go to Data Entry and Expense Codes, that toolbar goes away. Make that form active, and that toolbar appears. Go back to Expense Codes, and that toolbar goes away. So you can see I've now customized the toolbar that's available with that particular form. What I'm going to do right now is close this form. I'm going to save it as FRM Menus. We now have that form. Notice my report is still open. Here we are back in my database window, and what I'm going to do is add a shortcut menu. The last type of command bar that we're going to take a look at is a shortcut menu. A shortcut menu appears when the non-dominant mouse button, usually the right mouse button, is pressed. I'm going to right-click any menu bar or toolbar and select Customize. Then what I'm going to do is create a new menu, and it's going to be my shortcut. I'm going to click OK, but by default, remember this is a toolbar. So I need to go into Properties, and I need to select as the type a pop-up or shortcut menu. If I select pop-up, notice that we get this message, indicating that the shortcut menu is going to disappear because it's going to be added to the shortcut menu's toolbar. To complete it, I need to go to close the toolbar property sheet, display the shortcut menu's toolbar, click Custom, and then add the commands I want. This is actually pretty complicated if you don't remember what appears in this message box. Clicking OK, I'm going to click Close to close the properties. And if I go down to the bottom, notice that near the bottom we have shortcut menus. If I click shortcut menus, all the shortcut menus appear. These are all the built-ins, but including the custom menu. There's my shortcut that I just created with nothing on it. So in order to add things to my shortcut menu, I need to go over to Commands, and maybe what I might want to add to my shortcut menu, maybe undo, copy, or cut, copy, and paste, and whatever else I want. This is my shortcut menu. When I'm done adding to my shortcut menu, I click Close. And now I need to associate that shortcut menu with either a form or a control. What I'm going to do is go into FRM Menus in Design View. In FRM Menus, I'm going to select the form itself, and on the other tab, I'm going to associate a shortcut menu bar. There's my shortcut. What this means is that when that form is active, I'm going to right-click and the shortcut menu appears. Notice that all of the options are dim right now. That is because none of these apply because I don't have any selected text. To demonstrate, I'm going to close the form and indicate yes, I want to save changes to it. Now what I'm going to do is go back into Design View, and I'm going to add a couple of text boxes. So I select a text box and add it to the form, and one more. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go back into the form running it. I'm going to type some text. I'm going to select some text. I'm going to try right-clicking within here, and notice that even within the control, you can see that these options are available. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to right-click and select Paste. And that, you can see, is my shortcut menu in action. Now you can associate a shortcut menu with a form or with specific controls on the form. And it doesn't really matter. It's up to you as to what's appropriate. As the final thing I want to show you on menus is what if you want to delete menus or rename them or something like that. If I right-click and go into Customize and go over to Toolbars, I can select a particular menu and I can opt to rename it. I want to rename it. I can also delete it. So I'm going to delete Migrate Menu Bar, click OK. I'm going to do the same thing for my toolbar. And if I wanted to delete the shortcut menu, it's very interesting. It's actually very kludgy. First, I need to display shortcut menus. And notice that if I try to right-click this, nothing happens. I could delete items within it, but I can't delete the menu itself. Well, here's the kludge. You first need to go into Properties, and you need to select that shortcut menu. So I have to find my shortcut, which is right here, and I actually need to turn it into either a menu bar or a toolbar. Like I said, this is kludgy. I then click Close. At that point, and only at that point, can I locate it and delete it. Finally, it's important to note at this point that this form, FRM Menus, isn't going to run correctly because it's now referencing objects, menus that don't exist. So I would need to go into it in Design View, bring up its properties, and I would need to get rid of the references to the menu bar, the toolbar, and the shortcut menu. And now I could run this form as expected, but of course you're not going to get the custom menu bar or toolbar. I'm going to go ahead and close this form and return to the database window. You just learned numerous very powerful advanced form techniques. You learned about several of the form events and how you could use them to customize your applications. You also learned about the sequence of form events. You learned about section and control events, and also about some of the different types of forms that are available. You learned how to work with the built-in dialogues and also how to add menu bars, toolbars, and shortcut menus to your forms to give them that professional polish. All of these techniques are extremely important when building custom applications.